Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Block Thrasher Daily Morning Crypto Update, where we are simplifying cryptocurrency, shattering the complexities of crypto with news, commentary, analysis, and education. Hey, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who have been listening regularly and sharing with friends and with family. We've been seeing growth in the podcast, especially, and that is really, really good to see. These are exciting times. It seems like every day somebody calls me and says something like a friend or a friend of a friend and says, somebody at work was telling me about this crypto that they bought back in the day, and I thought it was a Ponzi scheme and et cetera, et cetera. And now I see what's going on with this constant stimulus and the devaluing of the dollar. And you seem to have done a lot of research. What can I do? Help me. So I say, well, go to the podcast every day. I cover what is happening in the cryptocurrency space and talk about fundamental principles behind why it is that Bitcoin has risen so much in value from just around 3,000 a year or two ago. Of course, we saw the previous high of 20,000, the market dip, and now this just astronomical increase up to playing with $60,000. Of course, we've talked about it many times. This time is different, and we see this every single day. News item after news item after news item that just illustrates with such clarity that crypto is here, not just here to stay, but is becoming ubiquitous. All right. It's everywhere. And we're seeing mass adoption. The number one story of the day has to do with this very thing. PayPal. PayPal has just announced, let's just jump over there. Normally we jump right into the market and see what's happening with prices over at CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko or something like that. But let's just look at this story real quick about PayPal, because this is the story. It's just swallowing up the entire news space today. PayPal to allow crypto payments for all 29 million merchants. This is huge. After announcing active development on crypto payment solutions in July 2020, PayPal announced that it would allow U.S. consumers to pay with crypto at millions of merchants. Now, this is huge and it's exciting. It's exciting because one of the things that people have often said is, well, you can't really use Bitcoin. You can't use crypto for anything. I can't go in and buy them a cup of coffee, et cetera, et cetera. And you could, but it was difficult. PayPal's making it easy. Obviously, one of the issues that everyone's going to have to face with this is that the government very cleverly, I shouldn't say the government, entities within the government, the IRS, et cetera, has classified cryptocurrency as a commodity, as an asset, right? So it's subject to capital gains tax. So let's just say, to simplify this, let's just say you have some Bitcoin, you have some Ethereum, you have some Cardano, you have whatever you've got, Litecoin, maybe you have Dogecoin, Maybe there's a few people that still have Dogecoin. I'm just kidding. Just a little bit of a jab. Sorry, Jeremy, if you're listening. But what they do is you go and you walk into the coffee shop that is using PayPal processing, and you buy a cup of coffee, and PayPal behind the scenes, according to your instructions, dynamically sells off a little bit of your crypto and converts it to US dollars, pays the merchant in US dollars. It's all seamless. Everything happens. Bada boom, bada bing, simple, fast, done. The issue is, if there was an increase in the crypto that they sold, not only do you have to pay sales tax like normal, but you also have to pay the capital gains tax on that, which is pretty hefty. So you might be paying, 30% more for that cup of coffee than if you were to just use your US dollars. However, if you recently saw a more than 30% gain, who's going to really care, right? And so, there's a lot of interesting stuff that goes on with that, but that's just something to keep in mind. I mean, on a cup of coffee, whoop-de-doo. So I paid a few more cents for the convenience of using my crypto assets. And when we see serious inflation happening at the same time, or if we do see, as Ray Dalio is predicting, we're going to look at an article today where he predicts that, then people aren't really going to care. They're not going to care. There needs to be some sort of legislation, I think, as well, especially for small transactions like that. Hey, come on. Come on, guys. You know? All right, fine. You got to get your take. Come up with a reasonable 10% capital gains on transactions that are under, $100 or something. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see a senator, congressman, somebody puts forth some sort of proposal like that. It would make a lot of sense. I mean, sure, if you've got Bitcoin and you've made massive increase, or maybe there needs to be just sort of a wall of, if you've had an increase over $20,000 or something, you're subject to this capital gains tax. And, I mean, none of us like that, but hey, they're going to do what they're going to do. What people don't understand is part of the reason that type of tax exists is not to fund government activities. It is to protect the dollar. See, because everybody knows it's simple. It's not even a debate that gold and or the new gold Bitcoin protects purchasing power against the dollar. So nobody would hold dollars. No one would use dollars as currency, but of course they're forced to legally and pay taxes. But they would just use gold. But that's been done. This is intentional. The capital gains prevents from that happening. See, because if gold was money up until 1933. There were no capital gains on it. It's considered like a currency. There's no capital gains on currencies. It's because we still call them cryptocurrencies. Because historically, that's what the crypto space wanted it to be. But they're not really currencies, not according to the government. They're assets, they're commodities, right? Anyway, I got off on a little bit of a rabbit trail there. PayPal continues the crypto trend, though, and this is good. PayPal customers can now use the cryptocurrency in their PayPal account to pay for goods and services online. The payments giant will automatically convert the user's cryptocurrency into fiat before settling the transaction. So, this will not change anything for merchants, which obviously was one of the issues for merchants for the longest time. As if I accept Bitcoin, I don't know what the price is going to be tomorrow because it's so volatile, blah, 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 blah. Of course, we've been seeing something interesting of late. We've been going sideways for quite a while. I'm not going to say that crypto's become stable. Certain projects, though, Cardano, Algo, noticed, man, they hover close to $1 of late and stick pretty close to that. But that said, I think what's going on here is the institutional adoption is bringing a stability to this market like we've never seen. I mean, we're going to look again in one of these other stories of the day that Grayscale just bought and massive and 3.5, we'll get to it. It's billions of dollars worth of crypto, though, over the weekend. So far, the supported cryptos on PayPal are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. Certain U.S. users have been able to use PayPal to buy and store their crypto since September of 2020, and the demand for these services has exploded. By providing easy access to cryptocurrency exposure to its millions of customers, PayPal has been a key part of the current uptrend in crypto markets. Reuters has reported, I don't know where that came from. Reuters has reported they expect the company to announce this today, Tuesday, March 30th. But an official announcement has yet to be made. Allowing crypto payments could significantly boost further mainstream adoption of crypto in online commerce. This is according to the CEO, Dan Schillman. He told Reuters, quote, "This is the first time you can seamlessly use cryptocurrencies in the same way as a credit card or a debit card inside your PayPal wallet." Booyah! The news cycle this week has been filled with mainstream companies further integrating crypto services in their financial operations. Tesla has announced they would accept Bitcoin as payments for their cars and run their own node as active participants in the network. Good stuff. Yes, I love it. Don't you love it? Love it, love it, love it. Hey, what's the word of the day? The word of the day is brabble. B-R-A-B-B-L-E. Brabble. B-R-A-B-L-E. It is a verb which means to argue stubbornly about trifles. Wrangle. You know how it is. You've been married. You've lived with anyone for any amount of time. You know, most divorces end over some trifle. She just wouldn't put the toilet paper on the right way. He wouldn't squeeze the toothpaste tube from the right end. Drove me nuts. Couldn't. She just couldn't chew with her mouth closed. Anyway, to brabble is to argue stubbornly about trifles. You ever known someone like that? Where it was like, holy mackerel. This person just wants to argue. It seems like this is also the way social media is. You've seen those posts where someone says, I say the sky is blue. Let's let the arguing begin. You know, people can't help themselves. Oh, no, it's actually more of a, I don't know, like a purple or, whatever. Or this is a stick. And then you got people brabbling, 20, 30 different people jumping into the, and that's with trifles, things that are inconsequential that don't mean much. Anyway, it could be annoying. Absolutely. Don't be a brabbler. B-R-A-B-B-L-E. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at the market really quickly and see what's happening with prices. I think we've got some good motion, some good activity. Yes, the global crypto market cap is now $1.87 trillion. That is up 2.39% in the last 24 hours. I like it. I like it a lot. Bitcoin's dominance is dropping. It's at 58.9%. Boy, just barely, though. I mean, oh, snap. This is no bueno. Gas prices have doubled. Wow, 225 gwei for standard. Ouch. That's going to be painful. That's going to be rough for the Uniswap users. Well, Bitcoin is up 1.56%, up 6.4% on the week. It's at $59,000.45. Come on, Bitcoin. Let's just bust through that 60,000 mark and go all the way up to 70. PayPal's integrating payments into its platform. Let's do it. Come on, Grayscale's buying like crazy. Good news from the CME group. Anyway, we're going to cover all of that. Ethereum up 3.2%, up 7.18% on the week. It is $1,839. Like it. Binance Coin, just rocking it. Up 10.93% to $303.92. Binance token, man, BNB just holding that number 3 spot for a while. Gotta wonder, Binance obviously massively huge as the largest global exchange. You gotta wonder what kind of support is being given to this token by the platform itself, by the company itself. I know I hate to speculate, but its rise to this level sort of been surprising. I mean, I know there's a lot going on the Binance Smart Chain and DeFi and these sorts of things, but the space is still so small that it wouldn't be that difficult with CZ and the boys over there to, Anyway. Cardano is not moving. It's up on the week, 3.46%, but it's $1.21 currently. Polkadot is actually down slightly, less than 1%, though, at $34.17. XRP, similarly, is just slightly up, less than 1% at 56 cents. Uniswap's been kind of trending down lately. And I can only think that that's got to be the fees, the Ethereum fees. I don't know, or competition from the other DEXs. I mean, they've got, positive news about version 3 coming out, which really doesn't address the fee issues at all. But maybe the Uniswap euphoria has just sort of been quelled a bit. It was sort of shocking as well to see its meteoric rise. Man, don't think anybody expected at the time of the airdrop, when it was $3 or something, that it would be close to 30 now. But here we are. Obviously, an extremely useful platform, and has experienced widespread adoption. The difficulty it's facing is it's all on the Ethereum platform, and these DeFi products are just, the fees are just crazy. I mean, I was trying to do something over the weekend to pull some liquidity out of something that had been staking, and man, I was looking at 50, 60, like $80 just to do the transactions alone. Overall, that's that eats at whatever profits there might be. That's rough. THETA has Litecoin has flipped with THETA. Litecoin's at number 9, just holding steady. I mean, not really up in the last 24 hours, less than 1%, but it's $197.25. THETA's down 4.28 to 1283, but that's still incredible that THETA, where THETA's at. I mean, to be at $12.83. Wow. I mean, I remember when I first talked about THETA to you and brought it to you guys' attention, if you weren't aware of it already, back, I don't know, March something, 16th or something, it was just $4. So THETA's doing great. Chainlink up 1.7% to $28.32. DREP, never even heard of this thing, at number 12. And this might even be a mistake. I don't know. Up 13,912% on the week. Up 5,786%. The last 24 hours at $3.29, coming in at number 12. We're going to have to take a look at DREP, because it's just come out of nowhere. We looked at Clay the yesterday, similarly, just appearing out of nowhere in the top 20. All right, that's enough for the market for today. I don't know, just scrolling down quickly, I mentioned a couple other things. Solana doing well. Solana, obviously one of those platform tokens with smart contracts and such that just has like really good technology, super fast transaction time, stuff like that. All right, moving on. Some good stuff happening with government. Love these stories. It seems like we're starting to see more and more of these, lower level government officials really push for crypto adoption within their communities and in their jurisdictions. I like it. The Miami mayor is pushing to make his city a Bitcoin mining hub, and for what reason? For national security. Mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez, believes Bitcoin should be mined predominantly in the United States. Yeah, I like it. And specifically in his city. In a new Unchained podcast interview with Laura Shin, Suarez argues that turning the second most populous city in Florida into a Bitcoin mining hub would serve the national security interests of the U.S. Now, the only problem I see with that is it's so dang hot and so humid down there. Just seems like it makes more sense to put mining in cool climates where there's a lot of access to energy resources. But, not that it can't be done. It can be done. I mean, one of the largest mining operations is being built in Texas right now, right? So, which has a similar issue. They've got a lot of energy there, of course, but it is hot. A part of the problem, according to Suarez, with Bitcoin mining is 90% of it is not done in the United States. 90% of it is done in countries that have dirty energy. So that's the reason why it's considered to be a dirty activity. We would love to be a mining hub for national security reasons. We don't think 90% of mining should be outside the U.S. The Miami mayor adds that his city has an inexhaustible supply of clean energy that can power Bitcoin mining pools for a long time. Really? Okay. Why? He says, we get nuclear power. So we have clean energy, a clean energy supply that's essentially unlimited. And so we have the ability to supply mining centers and data centers in perpetuity with clean energy. So it actually would be to the benefit of the crypto community if we did more mining in the US, because we by and large produce clean energy. So it would change that narrative and that dynamic. Rock and roll, Suarez. Bring it. Suarez reveals that besides allowing local government transactions in Miami to be done using Bitcoin, the city is also considering investing in the flagship crypto asset. Wonder if that's even possible. Let's see what he says here. As a city, we implemented a resolution that would allow our employees to get paid in Bitcoin. That's going to attract some people to go work for the city, isn't it? That would allow our residents to pay for fees in Bitcoin, and that would allow the city, or at least explore the possibility of the city investing in Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't know how they do that. So they're just exploring it. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. I mentioned Grayscale earlier. Here's the details on that. Grayscale grabs 3.1 billion in crypto assets. As of March 29th, Grayscale has been holding a whopping 44.1 billion in cryptocurrencies. A total of 3.1 billion has been acquired by the company over the weekend. On Friday, March 26th, Grayscale Investments held a smaller amount, 41 billion worth of digital assets. Grayscale holds and offers investment exposure to 13 cryptocurrencies, including the flagship Bitcoin, Ethereum, Stellar, Litecoin, and others via trust. Recently, the company has launched 5 more trusts based on popular altcoins: Basic Attention Token, Mana, Link, Phil, Filecoin, and LPT. Wow. Grayscale currently holds a total of 37.3 billion worth of Bitcoin. However, GBTC continues to trade with a negative premium, which is interesting. But hey, this stuff, man, this just props up this market, and it's one of the reasons, I've said it over and over again, this might not be a super cycle in which we see a bust. This might just be the beginning of this mass adoption. You know, it's starting to be, I've said before, as I've thought through this, when we get to the place where 9 out of 10 people that you meet on the street have some crypto instead, then we'll know adoptions occur. We're still probably only at 1 or 2%, though. It's really, really low. But increasingly, more and more people are jumping on board and talking about it. All right. What else is happening out there that's good news? Here's some big news for Bitcoin traders. The world's largest financial derivatives exchange, the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group, announced that it would introduce a new micro Bitcoin futures contract. Although the new financial product is pending regulatory review, the firm expects to launch it as soon as May. According to Tim McCourt, CME Group Global Head of Equity Index and Alternative Investment Products, the derivative product will be 1/10 the size of one Bitcoin, providing retail investors and individual traders exposure to the digital asset. The new contract will be cash settled based on the CME CF Bitcoin reference rate. Okay, so, we've talked about this before. It's good for exposure. It's, however, because it's cash settled, they may not even be buying any actual Bitcoin. And so there is the downside where, they can play the games that are played with paper ownership of any asset, where, you buy a contract but it's not actually redeemable for Bitcoin. So you don't actually own any Bitcoin. You just own a claim to something that says you get paid according to whatever happens with the Bitcoin price in the spot market, on the open market. And when you sell that sucker, you just get paid in cash. And this allows for some kind of shady things to be done, where when these contracts are about to expire, somebody could potentially manipulate the spot market in order to cause the liquidation of these derivative contracts. So, something to watch. But overall, good news. All right, what else we got today? Bitcoin market cap exceeds Canada's M1 money supply once again. Well, that's kind of cool. The Bitcoin market capitalization is once again sufficient to cover the M1 money supply of either Australia or Canada. Another day of gains for Bitcoin has seen the price of the largest crypto by market capitalization go beyond the 1.1 trillion mark. This market capitalization growth now means that Bitcoin's market has surpassed Canada's M1 money supply. What is M1 money supply? M1, or narrow money, refers to the total supply of physical currency in circulation, as well as traveler's checks and other forms of demand deposits held by non-banking institutions, public firms, private sector organizations, and among others. So you'll hear this talk about M1 money supply, M2 money supply, M1 being this like the actual physical stuff that's in circulation, right? Where the M2 includes all the digital stuff where there's never actually been anything printed, and it's just, Anyway, Bitcoin's climb to the top 10 of the global M1 money supply charts offers yet another indication of the pace of BTC's growth as a currency. Back in November 2017, Bitcoin was only ranked 32nd in terms of narrow money supply. Spain and Italy are the only two nations above Bitcoin whose M1 money supply figures are below the 2 trillion mark. At the current Bitcoin total supply of about 18.67 million BTC, the asset price will have to reach 90,600 to leapfrog both Spain and Italy on the M1 money supply log. So, Bitcoin continues to march on and surpass not just corporations, but also nations in terms of M1 money supply. Good stuff. All right. Wrapping things up. This is a profound article here talking about Ray Dalio, who is urging diversification out of the dollar. That's right. You heard it. Out of the dollar. Ray Dalio is the founder of one of the largest investment firms in the world and has amassed a personal fortune nearing $20 billion from his business and investment acumen. In short, he understands money and he understands finance in a way that most people never will. And it's for this reason that his latest insights are noteworthy. In a recent self-published article entitled, "Why in the World Would You Own Bonds When... Dalio makes some blunt assertions about the alarming U.S. national debt decline of the dollar. Other negative trends in the land of the free. Boom, 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 boom. Here's a summary of the major points. Sorry, guys, for that crazy noise. I have to plug in again. Let's look at what Dalio had to say. Hopefully that won't be too much of a distraction there in the background. In a recent self-published article, "Why in the World Would You Own Bonds?" when Dalio makes some blatant assertions about the U.S. national debt. Okay, this is what he says. Summary of the major points. Interest rates are now so low that investing in bonds and most financial assets has become stupid. Dalio points out that bond yields are so low today that investors would essentially have to wait more than 500 years just to break even. 500 years to break even on their bond investments after adjusting for inflation. That's just crazy. That's why sensible people are already ditching the bond market. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon recently said he wouldn't touch a U.S. government 10-year treasury note with a 10-foot pole. Neither would Dalio. Number 2, this is a big problem for Uncle Sam. Investors are ditching the U.S. government bonds at a time when the U.S. is overspending and are over-borrowing. They just passed a 1.9 trillion stimulus, and they have another 3 trillion spending package ready to go, plus plenty of momentum for universal basic income, healthcare, Green New Deal, and just about everything else. Massive, 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 massive spending coming down the pipe. In short, the government is going to have to sell a lot of bonds, increase the debt at a time when investing in bonds has become stupid. Number 3, Dalio points out, this creates a huge problem for the U.S. dollar. Huge. The frightening thing about this, Dalio says, is that many investors have already come to the conclusion that bonds are terrible investments. So, these investors could decide to dump the bonds they already own at the same time as the U.S. government has to sell a lot of bonds. Just imagine, the U.S. government could easily have to sell another $4 trillion worth of bonds over the next 12 months to cover its massive budget deficit, plus all these wild spending programs. But then, on top of that, investors who currently own U.S. government bonds may decide to dump another $3 trillion worth of the bonds in their portfolios. This would mean, in total, we're looking at $7 trillion worth of bonds that will flood the market at a time when few people want to buy them. So, Dalio explains this would cause one of two things to happen. Either interest rates will rise in order to invest, to entice investors to buy the bonds, or the Federal Reserve will have to print substantial amounts of money to buy the bonds that the free market buyers won't buy. What do you think they're going to do? It's pretty clear, according to Dalio, they're going with option B, to print substantial amounts of money. Last year, the Fed was by far the single largest buyer of all newly issued U.S. government bonds. Yet, as Dalio writes, when they print money and buy those bonds, that lowers real rates and it accelerates a depreciation in the value of the dollar, and it also raises inflation pressure. So, what are the potential consequences? The real risk, according to Dalio, the big risk is of a monetary inflation. And that monetary inflation means that even when the economy weakens, inflation rates rise. This is essentially stagflation, which is rising inflation coupled with a sluggish economy. When does Dalio see these consequences starting to rise? He says later this year. There are plenty of bigger picture issues too. Dalio acknowledges that the U.S. government is going to need a lot of money to finance all this spending. So taxes will likely rise a lot as well. Dalio writes, tax increases, quote, could be more shocking than expected. Yeah, that's kind of scary, isn't it? He also believes that the chances of a sizable wealth tax bill passing over the next few years are significant. And a result of such tax policy and other destructive rules, the United States could be perceived as a place that is inhospitable to capitalism and capitalists. The combination of high taxes, high inflation, and hostility towards capitalism may compel many investors and businesses to shift their capital and operations overseas and run them from less hospitable places to more hospitable places. But don't expect the U.S. government to sit idly by while capital leaves the country. Dalio believes there is the possibility of capital controls. Also something that is not good and scary, to prevent money from exiting the United States, as well as prohibitions against capital movements to other assets outside the US dollar like gold, Bitcoin, etc. So in short, too much debt and money printing leads to a declining value of the US dollar and potentially stagflation. As a result, the government is likely to drastically rise taxes and chase businesses and capital away from the United States, leading to capital controls and prohibitions on alternative investments. This is not some wild conspiracy theory or crazy conjecture. This is one of the wealthiest, most successful fund managers in human history bluntly calling the end of the U.S. dollar debt super cycle. His top recommendation, therefore, is a well-diversified portfolio of non-debt and non-dollar assets. What's a non-debt, non-dollar asset? Crypto. I hate to say it, though. I think Dalio was probably right. If you read the Bitcoin Standard or if you look at the history of what's happened in these types of situations in the past, this is what a government always does. When they have debt that they can't service or debt that they can't pay, obligations, they devalue the currency. People naturally acting in self-interest try to get out of the dollar in whatever way they possibly can, whether it be gold or silver or crypto or going overseas or into other foreign currencies, etc. And in response, the government starts to bring in these capital controls, trying to prevent this from happening. More control, draconian measures, it never works. It leads to deep recession, even depression. And so, what can we do? What can we do? What Dalio says, try to diversify out of it, act early. Get into non-dollar, non-debt-based assets like Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptos that are solid projects. It's coming. All right, friends. Thank you for your time. It's a beautiful Tuesday here. Beautiful day in the state of Washington. Still here in the Spokane area. Be sure to visit blockthrasher.com and sign up for an account there. There's not been a ton of activity or posting on that site, but there will be going forward as I just get things settled around here. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify or Google or any of the other platforms, please be sure to do that and share with friends. On YouTube, same. Be sure to subscribe. Appreciate you and your time. Remember, it's always a great day to learn more about crypto, to earn more crypto, to stack more crypto. I just hope that you have one of the best days you've had in a long time. I just hope you have a phenomenal day. That's my wish for all of you today. Press on. Stay strong. Love y'all. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye now.